What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pinfalls and Playbooks podcast, episode number 22. As always, I'm your host, Faiz Kabir, alongside my co-host, Fardin Khan. And today's episode, we got a lot to talk about in the sports world, as well as the wrestling world. We're heading to the last show of the wrestling world of the year, Saturday night's main event, which we have a lot to discuss and get into. But first things first, we're going to start off with our sports recap. Alright guys, usually we start off with our NFL to start off on our sports recap, but this time we're starting with the NBA recap. That's because we have cup games that are going on currently as we're watching. But before we can get into the cup games, we're going to talk about the two favorite games that we each saw this week. Farhan, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so the first game on my list is the Celtics versus the Raptors. This happened a couple of days ago. The Celtics won this one, 121 to 113. The Celtics are hot. They won 5 straight, and they won 10 out of their last 12. They started off the season really slow. They went 0-3, and so a lot of people were doubting them, like, oh, is this the end of the Celtics, this and that. And they just had a sudden resurgence. We've seen the rise of Jaylen Brown. He's becoming, I guess, the one as of right now. We used to call him the 1B to Jason Tatum.
Right.
But now he's pretty much the one. Derek White has definitely been improving throughout the season. He's been struggling to start off the season. He didn't really shoot well. Peyton Pritchard's actually been becoming the better starting point guard for the team. So there's a lot to look forward to. And this game in particular, Derek White, he played really well. He shot a lot of threes, made, I believe, 6 of them. Jaylen Brown continues to do what he does. He started facilitating the ball.
Yeah.
And one thing to note about the Celtics is the rise of Jordan Walsh. He was a draft pick, I believe, in 2021, and he hasn't really been fully utilized.
Yeah, he's been on the bench forever.
For the last few years because of what was around him.
Right.
But now the fact that he's getting more playing time, and he's becoming like a really solid 3-and-D wing for the Celtics. So it kind of just makes sense. A lot of people on the Celtics have been doing really good, like Neemias Queta, Luka Garza's been doing really good. Baylor Shireman's coming off the bench, he's producing. But as far as the Raptors go, they've actually been surprising for some, I don't know, the coaching's been really good for them. They have star players. They have Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes is still there. Emmanuel Quickly's been playing really well. Jakob Poeltl has been a good center for them. But there's a lot to look forward to as the season progresses because of the Eastern Conference, how weak it is as of right now. But the Raptors, surprisingly, I believe they're the top 5 seed, and there's a lot to look forward to for both teams. The second game I want to talk about is the Nuggets and the Hawks. The Nuggets won this game 134 to 133, a pretty high-scoring affair.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate that Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in this goddamn solar system, and he continues to do it. I believe he had a triple-double again, as if that's pretty common at this rate. But one thing about the Hawks I want to talk about is Jalen Johnson. He's been playing he's in my opinion the most improved player as of right now.
Yeah, and I mentioned this last time too about Jalen Johnson.
And he's like a stat sheet stuffer for the Hawks right now, and he's been dropping triple doubles like Jokic. And if it wasn't for, I guess, where the Hawks are in the standings right now, he'd definitely get more recognition.
There's no Trae Young,
and there is no Trae Young, so
he's probably a top 5 point guard in the East. And there's no Trae Young.
There's been rumors about him getting traded, so it's a little, I guess.
I'll talk about that in the next game.
But the Nuggets, they. Obviously, if Jokic goes, the team goes. Jamal Murray, I believe he had 50-something points game before. He did pretty good. I know you said he's like the most inconsistent player, but he actually did play well for this game in particular. And it just ultimately led to a very high-scoring affair. The Hawks, they put up points, and if they put up points, they can do pretty good things, especially in the Eastern Conference. And the Nuggets, they're the Nuggets at the end of the day. But yeah, those are my 2 games for this week.
And so, first things first, for my 2 games, before I get into it, I want to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. So, the Dallas Mavericks is a game that I'm going to be talking about, but this week there's been a lot of chatter about Anthony Davis. Yeah. And I think I mentioned this also previously about Anthony Davis trade talks. And now, look what's happening. It's getting more and more apparent.
He's not going to be a Maverick. I would say by the new year, we'll understand where he's going to go.
And it's not even him. It's also Klay Thompson that's being in the talks as well. And the crazy thing is, these are all people that Nico Harrison brought in, and you can tell from that regime they don't want these players because that's not the mindset, that's not the vision that the Mavericks had, and it's obvious because now Anthony Davis, he's on a contract year where they're trying to shop him out because Mavericks are either gonna have to sign him in the summer or you're gonna get rid of him right now.
I feel like ownership, they failed to see what Nico Harrison was doing, and somebody needs to question them. Obviously, we question.
Well, I don't care. But Nico Harrison had to go.
He had to go, but it's crazy that they let him do these things. Don't you think that raises the questions?
Well, for sure, but at the end of the day, they just thought that he had It's all come from saltiness of Luka Doncic and how well he's playing on the Lakers, 100%. And I know in the people in the Mavs front office, they're salty people. they will easily get their feelings hurt, especially when they see their person that they thought was going to be there for the next 20 years is putting up MVP numbers.
Yeah.
But for the Mavericks, there's a lot of trade talks happening, but they're also they have been improving.
Yeah.
So this game I'm talking about is the Mavericks versus the Rockets, where the Mavs won this game 122-109. Rockets didn't have Sengun because he's been out due to illness, but they did have KD, they did have Smith Jr., who each had a good game. They need more consistent play from Reed Shepherd, also as well as Amen Thompson. He's a really good 3-and-D player, but he has no jumper. And both of those Thompson twins, they don't have jumpers.
Yeah, the Rockets, they need a much more solid point guard.
That's the talk that everybody's been talking about.
Obviously, they don't have Fred VanVleet right now.
Right, and if Freddie was playing, he'd probably give that support for them because he's always been a player that's been able to score and assist. But let's see, the Rockets could be definitely in one of these teams that are in the trade talks as well. But in the Mavericks case, we finally had a solid play from AD where he put up a good number. I think he put up 30 points and put a classic AD performance, which is great for the Mavs because at least it's giving teams knowing that AD still has stock. Like, he's still a good player, and he's still a top 20 player when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. You can put him on a solid winning team if you really wanted to. Cooper Flag continues to improve every game. He's slamming and jamming that ball every time I see it. Every game I've been seeing him dunking on something or dunking on somebody.
He's the rookie of the year, for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt anymore.
Down, yeah.
Brandon Williams is also looking very decent as well. And then we also have Ryan Nembhard, who I talked about last time, where he's looking like a solid pickup, a good point guard, where he kind of has that Jalen Brunson type story.
He plays like his brother, low-key.
Yeah, but but the Mavericks, they do really well at drafting these point guards that have been in college for very long, but come into the NBA and they're really good. And they saw that with Jalen Brunson. Maybe Ryan Nembhard could be in that role as well. Another one we'll quickly talk about is D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell is a fraud. We brought him in just to fill the void for Kyrie Irving. This dude got downgraded to the third point guard now at this point. And D'Lo, I'm sorry, there's no more ice in your veins, bro. At this point, it's over for him. At this point, he's just gonna be on riding the bench on whatever team if the Mavs even do keep him. But that's the Mavericks talks. But next game on the list is who we traded Luka Doncic to is the Los Angeles Lakers versus 76ers. The Lakers are looking like a top 3 team in the NBA in the West. The Lakers look very, very good. And the thing is,
when all 3 are on the court together, when all 3 being LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves.
It's not even that. There's Rui Hachimura who's playing extremely well.
And DeAndre.
That's what I'm saying. Their whole starting lineup is actually really good for the Los Angeles Lakers. They built it around Luka Doncic, where they gave him pieces for him to work around, and he's doing that. Luka Doncic is looking like what I thought he was going to be, the MVP this season. In my opinion, he's clearly the favorite right now. And I just think it's because maybe you could argue Nikola Jokic, but I think Luka would get the nod because obviously it's a fresher and newer name and the NBA likes to do stuff like that. We had LeBron James with a vintage performance. I know the game before this, people were calling him a scrub because he scored under 10 points.
I saw somebody call him a geriatric fraud.
I was like, you guys are talking about one of the greatest of all time.
He probably is the greatest of all time.
You can't say that about him, and you know LeBron is a troll.
No slander on my king like that.
And LeBron is a troll. He definitely heard the talks.
Yeah.
And look what he did. He scored 29 points. He scored 10 straight points in the fourth quarter to give them the lead against the 76ers. And with the 76ers, it's the same old story. We talked about them so many times on this podcast. It's Tyrese Maxey and nobody else. Yeah. Joel Embiid is a bum. He shot 4 for 21. That is ridiculous. You're 7 foot tall. And the crazy thing is,
you could baby DeAndre.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you're the big man on this team. Usually when big men are playing against the Lakers, they like to feast and they like to have good games. But DeAndre Ayton obviously stood his own, or maybe Joel Embiid didn't do anything, to be honest. Then you have also Paul George, who's doing nothing as well.
Another bum.
And it's just the Sixers, they really need to get rid of those assets. They need to somehow get rid. And I don't even know if Embiid is really any more trade value to him if teams really want him. I feel like if they really want to trade him, maybe they can to somebody. But for me, I think the 76ers are stuck at this limbo where they're going to just be in this route and see where Maxey takes them. And hopefully they get another. I feel like they're banking on getting another high draft pick because I'll tell you one thing.
There's a lot of good players.
That's what I say. The 76ers do draft well. Yeah. They always have been drafting well, and I always felt like that. But
not that Markelle Fultz shit.
Markelle Fultz, yeah. Markelle Fultz, he's just he obviously wasn't a number 1 pick type player, but he's doing well on whatever team he is on now. I forgot what team he's on now, but he's a solid role player on some other teams. But that kind of wraps up our 2 favorite games that we saw this week, and we're gonna jump right into NBA Cup predictions. So, like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, Cup predictions is going on currently right now. We're talking about, I guess we'll start in the East real quick. We got the Magic versus the Heat right now. this game is pretty much tied and it's just getting into the second half. But Farn, I'll let you give your predictions of who you think is going to win this game.
As of right now, if this guy makes it, he didn't make it. But I'm going to roll with the Heat on this one. I feel like they're a much more healthier team than the Magic. They don't have Franz Wagner. They just got back Paolo Banchero, but obviously the lack of Wagner being there, he's a great facilitator for the team. It kind of just doesn't gel well for the team in its own right.
For sure.
But I'm going to roll with the Heat on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to also roll with the Heat as well. I think Bam Adebayo has been looking like... It's crazy that people are considering Bam Adebayo as part of the most improved players all the time, but he's really not. He's been a star.
He's just always been a consistent player when he's on the court.
But the thing is, like, he's improving his game because he's getting a three-point shot. He's getting it around the rim. And also Tyler Hero come back. He's looking like a solid scorer as well. And... obviously, I do think that the coaching is going to be what takes them over. So that's why I'm going to pick the Heat. The second matchup we have which is later on after this game, is the Raptors versus the Knicks. Now, this is going to be a good matchup because, one, I do think that the Raptors are a very scrappy team.
We just found out that Immanuel Quickley is not playing.
And Immanuel Quickley is not playing, which is a big thing for them because he's a little dynamic scorer for the Raptors. But I do think there's going to be a big game from RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett, I think he needs to have a good game because this season he hasn't been putting out more than he can. Brandon Ingram has been solid for them, and I think Scotty Barnes can also have a good impact, especially playing against a team like the Knicks. But can they overcome the power that the Knicks have with Jalen Brunson, with Karl Anthony Towns, and the role players that they have? I'm going to roll with the Knicks because I think it's just obviously the smarter pick to roll with because I do think the Raptors are a little bit inexperienced. But I think there's going to be a big game from Jalen Brunson where he's just something that he's bound to do in the stages like this. So I'm going to roll with the Knicks. And I guess we'll just talk about exactly, we'll just go into who we think is going to represent the East. So if I'm picking the Knicks, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat also as well. And between those two, I'm going to roll with the Knicks getting to the finals.
I agree. I'm going to roll with the Knicks in the Raptors game. I don't really need to explain much. The Knicks are just a more deeper team than the Raptors.
Yeah.
And the lack of Emmanuel Quickley, that production is not going to be there. And they're not going to have that backup point guard that the Knicks do have, which is Marlon McBride. Jordan Clarkson's been playing really well.
Yeah. And
obviously we picked the Heat for this game, so I'm going to roll with the Knicks as well, making the NBA Cup Finals in Las Vegas. I just feel like because they just got back OG Anunoby, it just makes perfect sense for them to just go on this run.
For sure.
For the NBA
and then
Cup.
Now we're going to jump into the West side where we have the Los Angeles Lakers versus San Antonio Spurs. This game would have been a lot more interesting with Wembanyama playing, but it's not. So I'm going to go with the Lakers where it's just everyone on that team is hot right now. Austin Reeves had a low game, but I think he easily can get you 15 to 20 any night. And Luka Doncic, he's a walking 30-point triple-double. Yeah. LeBron James will get you his 15 to 20 points at this point, basically doing what he can do at his career, at his age. I just think it's going to be a washing, in my opinion. I can't see the Spurs making this competitive without Victor Wembanyama. So I'm rolling with the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Lakers too. They're just too hot right now. Luka Doncic is perhaps the MVP right now. LeBron James, he's starting to get better, getting more used to the game flow as he just came back from his injury. And Austin Reeves, he actually has been struggling the last couple of games, so I feel like this is going to be a big game for him. And I'm going to roll with the Lakers on this one as well.
Second game on the matchup we got is the 22-1 team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who is not losing any damn game.
I'm going to just say the Thunder on this one. They're playing the Suns.
I'm gonna roll with the Suns.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I think we're gonna have a 50-point game from Devin Booker.
Oh my God! How can you say that?
Because one, I think Devin Booker is a type of player where he's so counted out now, where it's just that nobody cares about the Suns anymore. And I feel like with a type of game like this, especially with the Thunder taking them easily and lightly, I can see Devin Booker going off in this type of game.
Interesting.
I think also I think a lot of people are not talking about Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks has actually been playing really fucking well. He's been playing
really good from Colin Gillespie.
And Colin Gillespie as well. The Suns have a good team, and they seem like they have a good roster, and especially coaching as well. I don't know why, but I'm getting a feeling where they can do an upset in this game where the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could have his solid 25, but I think he'll be not as efficient as we're used to seeing him. Chet Holmgren as well, and I feel like they still don't have Jalen Williams, right? So Jalen Williams, he's back now, but he's still getting accustomed to things as well. Yeah. But obviously, the logic pick would be the Thunder, but I'm gonna roll with the Suns in my opinion, just to spice this up because I do feel like everyone's gonna pick the Thunder as well. but I do think the Suns can possibly pull it off, which leads me to the Lakers versus Suns, but ultimately I think the Lakers win against the Suns, and I think the Lakers make it to the Cup Finals.
I think regardless of who the Lakers play, whether it's the Suns or the Thunder, I think the Lakers, it's going to set up that Knicks versus Lakers NBA Cup Finals, which will probably be the most entertaining NBA Cup Finals thus far. Obviously, the first year we had the Pacers and the Lakers.
Yeah.
And then last year we had the Bucks and who do we have? The Bucks and the Thunder last year, no?
Wasn't it the Bucks and was it the Bucks and Thunder? I think so.
It was the Bucks and Thunder.
Yeah.
The Bucks took that one. Then Knicks and Lakers would be a really good NBA
Yeah.
Cup Finals. I'm gonna roll with the Knicks winning the whole thing, to be honest with you.
Okay. I'm gonna actually go with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I just do think Luka Doncic is just on this roll, especially the whole team playing really well together. And I think LeBron James adds another cup championship to his resume, already established resume.
$500,000.
And I think Luka Doncic, if he establishes like his dominance in this field and on the court, especially against taking advantage of mismatches, because I don't think anybody on the Knicks team can hold Luka Doncic. I don't think OG Anunoby can not even hold him. Josh Hart never can hold him, and obviously if you get a mismatch on Jalen Brunson, it's just light work at that point. So I think it's going to be Luka Doncic riding the Lakers all the way to the Cup Finals and possibly winning the NBA Cup for them. But that kind of wraps up our NBA recap for this week. Next week we'll talk about and we'll touch on who wins the Cup, because I believe next week
Tuesday.
It's going to be on Tuesday. So we might be actually watching the Cup and we'll see how it goes. But that wraps up our NBA recap for this week. All right, guys. Now it's time for our NFL recap for this week. And we're on week 14. We are getting onto the very, very closing moments of the NFL schedules. But where we talk about it every week, every game matters. And let's talk about the first game on the docket that we have, Farnan.
Yeah, so it's the Cowboys versus the Lions, and the Lions won this game 44-30. And this was a big game for both teams.
Yeah.
Both, the Cowboys, they actually had a very meaningful win the week before on Thanksgiving against the Eagles. So this was, I guess, like that separation game where they decided to look up to the Lions and play as much as they could, but they didn't actually play really well for the whole game. The Lions, on the other hand, they actually came off a very tough loss against the Packers on Thanksgiving, so this was a much needed win for them in its own right. But Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 3 touchdowns.
He's been getting better and better every game.
He's definitely been getting better every game, especially since last week he was very quiet.
Yeah.
But last week in particular, Amon-Ra St. Brown got hurt. And he came back. And when he's back, it kind of just spreads out the Lions' offense
it opens
a lot better. It gives them the opportunity to run the ball, have good play actions. As far as the Cowboys, they were the hottest team coming into the game. They won, I believe, 4 straight. And their offense, they actually did enough as much as they could, but the defense, they struggled. Obviously, the addition of Quinn Williams, it was supposed to help them be a little bit better in the running game, but Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they just ran rampant against them. And it just ultimately was too much for the Cowboys. I just want to touch on one thing, that Brandon Aubrey, he's probably becoming the best kicker of all time, in my opinion. He just makes it look so easy.
He does make it look easy.
I believe he had 4 50-yard field goals this game and 1 60-yarder.
Crazy. It's just the Cowboys. It looks like, I don't know, like it's very weird with their team, because you know that their offense can keep them in the game. It's just their defense keeps letting them down.
And this game in particular, the fact that they lost, they're basically out of the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Especially with what the records are for the rest of the teams in the NFC. It would be a miracle for them to make the playoffs.
For sure. And it sucks because everyone talks about it every year, where they feel like the defense is never going to be good to keep them. And when you get rid of a player like Micah Parsons, like you have to somehow make it feel like, okay,
I think
we'll be okay without him, but they haven't been.
I think it's just more than Micah Parsons, because their run stuffers, they're not as good. Obviously, they have Quinn Williams, and it's just him.
Yeah.
But their linebackers, they can't cover any running back out
or
of the
tight
backfield
ends.
or tight end. And the cornerbacks, they're getting burned. Like, Deron Bland, all he's good for is just a bad pass getting interception. He's not a good cover corner, and their safeties, they're not helping out either.
No.
So it's not, if you don't have balance on the team, then you can't really do much. Obviously, people say defense wins championships, and this is not a defense that can win that championship for sure.
Next game on the docket we have is the Bengals versus the Bills. This was an exciting game in my opinion. I think probably the best game of the week. Especially with the star powers involved in this, with the quarterbacks. The Bengals jumped out to a very early lead. It was an extremely snowy environment in Buffalo.
I love playing football in the snow. It's so
that's what you do, but the players don't.
I'm sure they don't, but
the players hate it.
I'm sure they have some interest into it.
Oh yeah, but at the end of the day, they're frozen. And they hate it. I never heard of any NFL player ever say that they love playing in the snow.
That's true.
But Josh Allen, he put on a classic MVP performance. But the Bengals, they look good. Joe Burrow is back, but Joe Burrow is trying his best to pretty much keep the Bengals into this game and make it competitive. He delivered great throws, and you could tell he's still not 100% healthy because how he can't really scramble out of the pocket. And the Bills were actually getting to him in the second half, rushing at him and getting him uncomfortable. Yeah. But you had big games from, I believe, honestly, just on the Bengals side, Higgins, really. Just T. Higgins. Jamar Chase didn't really do much.
Christian Benford shut him down. He only had, I believe, like 3 or 4 catches for like 25 yards.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. But the Bengals were getting extremely burnt on the defense by their tight ends on the Bills side, where Dawson Knox had a huge game. Josh Allen was pretty much running around like a child in snow. Yeah. That's basically what he was doing. He was running around anytime he wanted, got first downs, went for a 40-yard touchdown. Like, it's just crazy to me that Josh Allen, which I always called him a Big Ben 2.0. That's what he is.
He's a mobile Big Ben.
Yeah, he's just, and you can't, and the thing is, like, you see it. Players and defensive players struggle to bring him down too. But Josh Allen has something about him where he's able to deliver these solid passes on target and giving his opportunities in the wide receivers to get the ball and get a touchdown. And they won this game. Joe Burrow did kind of sold this game when he did throw 2 interceptions.
The first one where he threw, which led to a pick six, it just didn't make sense. He just basically alley-ooped it, tried to get it to a screen to Jamar Chase, and then Benford just picked it off and ran it in.
For sure.
It just didn't make sense. I mean, the second one, it was a little bit more of a tip drill.
Right.
But the first one, it was just like, yo, what are you doing? That was like some jet-like passing.
And at that point, when he threw that second interception, it was like, all right, the Bengals' hopes are over at that point, because I know the people did think that Burrow's back. They can go on a run and try to get and squeeze their way into the last playoff spot, but I don't think it's going to happen, especially with a loss like this.
Exactly.
But the Bills, they continue to push forward and try to make these playoffs interesting, and it's going to be even more interesting when we talk about next week who they play against. But next on the docket we have is the Colts versus the Jaguars.
Yeah, so this was a battle for first place in the AFC South, and this was a game that both teams needed to win, especially with the Texans becoming hot.
Yeah.
And the Colts, I think the city of Indianapolis is kind of cursed in my opinion. That's the best way I can say it is Daniel Jones, he just got hurt. He got a torn Achilles. Obviously, we know about Tyrese Halliburton's injury.
And the thing is, we should touch on this. We've been calling the Colts frauds because they've been looking bad every week.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
Honestly, in my opinion,
this was just like the cherry on the top for the team, and it's unfortunate because the Colts were in first place of the AFC South.
They were in first place at the NFL at one point.
Yeah, they were for like I think 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah, and
they went on a crazy losing streak.
And guess what? Guess who they just signed? They just signed the 45-year-old Philip Rivers.
I don't know what they think is that going to do.
All quarterbacks that they could have gotten, whether that was on the free agent market, they decided to go with the 45-year-old off the couch. He probably has to pay for him kids. So
at this point,
I don't blame him though.
And the crazy thing is, that dude is older than like 10, 12 NFL coaches.
Yeah. He could be fathers of certain quarterbacks. And think about it.
It is crazy to think about, but Philip Rivers, I don't know what they think is that going to do to sign him.
Yeah.
And what late playoff push they can try to do at this point. But they lost that spot in their division, and I don't think they're gaining that spot back because the Jaguars, they kind of cemented why they can have a good run game and a good pass game if Trevor Lawrence gets the ball to his receivers.
And he did just that. Obviously, the Colts didn't have Sauce Gardner, but at the end of the day, if you get your ball to your playmakers, he has 2 solid playmakers. He has BTJ, and he did
now Jacoby
Myers. And what's crazy is this was a big game from Travis Etienne as well.
Yeah.
He had 2 touchdowns. Don't look now, but the Jaguars, they're building.
They need to hold on to
that.
They
need to be consistent
for sure. They need to hold on to that because the Texans are coming for them, and the Texans are looking very good as well. But next game on the docket we have is a classic rivalry between the Bears and the Packers, where this was a game where I did think that the Bears were going to win this game, and I honestly thought this was a really good game, back and forth. There was great defense played in this game, and as well as good, solid offense on both sides. This was a super cold game, and this is what usually these Bears and Packers games are around this time. They're very cold and very competitive.
Yeah.
But the Packers, they continue to improve, And it's weird because we thought the Packers were going to go in a limbo where they were going to fall off a cliff, and they've been slowly coming back ever since Micah Parsons has been carrying that defense, because Micah Parsons, and every play I watch the Packers defense, Micah Parsons is involved in something. He's breaking up the play, or he's chasing the quarterback and making it feel like that. And that's exactly what happened to Caleb Williams. He was chased all game long.
They pressured him a lot.
And it didn't help because the Bears tried their best offensive line to stop them, but they have Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons chasing them.
And they couldn't establish the run game as well.
Right. Mungai and Swift, we thought if they were able to establish that game, that will open up the passing game, but it didn't. But the Bears, they didn't play well in the first half. They played very well in the second half to make it more competitive. But honestly, Jordan Love, he delivered what he does best, is what a lot of people have been counting him out for. He's a very accurate quarterback when he has time and when he's in the pocket and presence. He delivered great balls to Christian Watson and to, I believe, I forgot the other receiver that got a touchdown as well.
Reed? No, was it?
No, it wasn't Reed. It was some other guy. I forgot his name. He's like I don't know if he was a rookie, but like the Packers have a lot of no-name receivers that score touchdowns for them, and it's mostly based on Jordan Love getting them the ball. Josh Jacobs and I feel like the run game on both sides wasn't really that apparent. But this kind of...
We thought it should have been, especially since it was how brick it was.
Yeah, I thought they were going to run the ball a lot, but they actually passed the ball a lot in this game. But overall, at the end of the game, it led to Caleb Williams throwing a crucial interception, and that's kind of was the game from there.
He had a poor read on that interception.
Yeah, he did.
If you looked at it, DJ Moore was wide open in the flat.
Yeah.
And he just decided to throw a lob ball to, I believe it was Cole Kmet.
Yeah,
he just led to an
he just decided, like, all right, he's the bigger receiver. Let me see if he can go up and get it.
He tried to go for the jugular when the jugular was right in front of him.
Yeah.
And he went for the opposite jugular.
And that could be due to, like, inexperience or probably just being young.
I would say 9 times out of 10, that ball goes to DJ Moore.
Yeah, and he was just obviously, the tensions are high. Right, it's a rivalry game, and you want to win it. So, obviously, I think that Caleb Williams was trying to go for the win and try to tie it at least. But the Packers... They continue to play solid defense, and the Packers are starting to get more and more competitive in the division.
Yeah, and with this win, they're the 1 seed. No, they're not. Yeah, they are because of how the percentage of their record is. Obviously, the Seahawks and the Rams, they're both 10-3, but because the Packers have that extra tie, so to speak, this just ultimately led them to be the 1 seed. And the NFC is looking pretty interesting. They have the better records compared to the AFC right now. So... It's
getting very competitive down there in the NFC.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the last game we have on the docket is the Eagles versus the Chargers. So in this game honestly was
disgusting.
It was a pretty boring game in my opinion. There was not a lot of offense on both sides.
Good on paper, but
I guess good defense was played on both sides, but there was a lot of field goals in this game. So if you had Elliott, if you had Dicker, you probably had a lot of points in fantasy, especially much needed as you're going to fantasy playoffs as well. But in my opinion, this was Jalen Hurts' probably worst game I ever seen him play.
Yeah, he threw 4 interceptions.
And
just to clarify, if me and you played the NFL game, we just spiked the ball into the ground, we would have had a higher passer rating than Jalen Hurts this game.
It's crazy because the thing is I wouldn't say every interception was his fault.
No.
There was some that was clearly his fault, especially one he threw to AJ Brown where he just overshot him like crazy. But You're Jalen Hurts. You want to establish the passing game and the run game. Saquon Barkley did have a big run where he scored a touchdown after finally they faked a tush push for basically getting that 50-yard run, which is maybe that they realized like, okay, maybe we got to start faking these tush pushes and start getting Barkley open.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea when everyone expects you guys to do it anyway. But the Chargers, in my opinion, I don't know. This is the time of the year where they start to fall off. And they do this every year.
They won this game, though.
They won this game, but, like, I don't know. The Chargers, we thought they were going to be much better than what they are right now. And the record, in my opinion, is a little bit deceiving because they won a lot of games, but it's kind of based on their schedule as well. They didn't play really at high level. Like, I can't think of a Charger game where they played a very, like, intensive game against somebody that's a very competitive opponent, in my opinion. And it might show, especially going into the playoffs, of how easily they can get bounced out once they play a competitive team. But Justin Herbert, there was nothing really impressive in this game. I think the return of Omarion Hampton helped them in the run game as well.
Yeah,
but
expands the offense a lot more. It gives them the opportunity to have that running back that they can go to and run the ball as well.
And then you had weapons like Ladd McConkey and Gadsden who didn't really even get the ball.
They haven't been producing like the offense for the Chargers this last couple of weeks. They're just
stagnant.
Yeah, it's just... They
I don't know.
do enough to win, but it's not enough to get yourself winning positions in the playoffs.
I totally agree. And the thing is, like, we're heading into the playoffs now. We're going into week 15 where every single game matters. And in my opinion, if you don't play really well, you're going to get exposed by these teams because you're at the point where every team knows what type of team they are.
Yeah.
And what type of plays and what type of, like, fire that they have.
There's got to be some balance because the Chargers have a good defense, but their offense, if they're not consistent, they're not going to do much. Especially as of right now, I believe they're the 5th seed, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll entail them to face the AFC South winner. And we know last time what happened when the Jaguars played the Chargers. So if they continue to play like this, they're going to end up in that same situation.
Yeah.
Where they blow a damn 28-10 lead, whatever.
Crazy.
And it's just not format. This could be said for all NFL teams that's going into the playoffs.
Because you want to establish the dominance. You want to have the confidence, especially wanting to show that you're going into the playoffs and you're set on your offense and defense and even special teams.
Right.
You want to get all that stuff ready. And there's 2 weeks left in the NFL season or 3 weeks left?
Yeah.
And you want to, whatever little things and whatever little penalties or anything that you have that you kind of do as a mistakes as team, you want to tighten them up, especially before playoff season start. But we're going to jump right into our NFL Week 15 predictions where I think we're going to have probably the biggest game in the AFC, I think, in my opinion, as of right now, is the Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots. Now, the New England Patriots are coming off a bye week. We're rested. Let's see how we are, especially after a rest, because honestly, I think this is the longest bye week ever that the Pats ever had at week 15. Yeah. That's kind of insane.
Well, 14.
Well, week 14. Yeah. But now we're getting into week 15 where pretty much the Pats established who we are as a team. We have Drake May, who delivers the ball whenever we need to, as efficient as there could be. We have a strong run game with Travion Henderson leading it. Ramondre Stevenson hopefully holds on to the ball. That's what he needs to focus on. And we have our receivers who are getting open. And in my opinion, I think the Patriots receiving core is the most surprising receiving core in the NFL this season because nobody thought the Pats receiving core can play this well. But Drake May is a huge part of that as well. The Buffalo Bills, they're hot. Josh Allen is very hot. And can the Pats sustain and hold him down? I don't know. This is going to be a big game. I'm going to roll with the Patriots only because our defense needs to get Josh Allen out of the pocket. And if we're able to get him out of the pocket, the Pats have solid linebackers where they can and will do quarterback spies against Josh Allen. And I just think overall we have a better coach team versus Sean McDermott. I just think so. I think our team overall on all sides is better on offense, defense, and special teams. And I think we have the best special teams in the NFL. So that's going to be a big part in this game.
I think for the
Buffalo... I didn't get my score.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the Pats win this game 28-24.
28-24. I'm going to roll with the Patriots as well. But only reason why I'm going to roll with the Patriots is because they have the better defense.
Yeah.
That's one. And the Buffalo Bills defense, they just gave up 34 points to Joe Burrow. And the Drake May-led offense, obviously they're going to do what they do. Getting the little short routes, running the ball, producing well-coached team. And it just kind of makes sense, especially since they're coming off the bye. And if you look at it from the game that they played in Week 5, they pressured Josh Allen like crazy.
That's exactly what we need to do again.
They had good cornerbacks, but the difference is the Bills have no good wide receivers.
Right.
And you can do that against the Bengals, obviously, but not against the Patriots. So I'm going to roll with the Patriots on this one. I'm going to say it's going to be a similar score. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-23 for the Patriots.
All right. And the next game we have is the Chargers versus the Chiefs, where the Chiefs are now about to be out of the playoffs, most likely.
Yeah, 6-7 right now.
And it's weird because I don't know if I don't even know if there's logically a possibility for the Chiefs to make the playoffs. Usually around this time of the year, we see the crazy odds of how all these teams make the playoffs. And is it weird to say that somehow the Chiefs can pull off a voodoo magic and make the playoffs at the end?
Anything is possible. Right?
That's the end. Anything possible, especially with the Chargers not looking really good. I think that the Chiefs have to win this game. They're going to win this game, in my opinion, with Patrick Mahomes. He looked fed up with his team. And he's looking fed up more and more, especially with Travis Kelce, who had a crucial drop that led to an interception last game. And I know that obviously these two players are getting old, but Patrick Mahomes still has a lot more left in him versus Travis Kelce.
Yeah, for sure.
And Patrick Mahomes, you have to think about what life is after Travis Kelce. And I think this is going to be a game where you have to deliver the ball to Rashee Rice, You have to give it to Xavier Worthy, who's just a weapon that's just sitting there. You need to utilize him. And I don't think that the Chargers defense is that solid, in my opinion, because especially with the Eagles in that game, it didn't look good. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs. I think Chiefs win this game 21-17.
I'm going to roll with the Chargers on this one. I feel like I'm going to get ahead of myself by saying this, but I feel like this is going to be a legacy game for Justin Herbert. He needs to really show out because he's known to not produce in big moments.
Especially against good quarterbacks.
And against good quarterbacks. And you have probably the best quarterback on the opposite side of the field. So this needs to be a big game from Justin Herbert, and I feel like he could definitely throw for 300 yards. The offense, they just need to call better plays for him. Obviously, the return of Omar and Hampton is going to make the offense a little bit more balanced,
Yeah.
Like with screening plays. They need to get Gatson the ball because he's a good tight end.
He's a good tight end.
And they have the playmakers on the outside. Obviously, Keenan Allen's not Keenan Allen of old, but Quentin Johnson, we haven't really seen him be as flashy as he was
in the beginning of the season. Yeah.
And Ladd McConkey, we had high expectations for him because of the return of Keenan Allen and the rise of Quentin Johnson. We thought that he was going to be like 100-catch caliber type of wide receiver, but we haven't really seen that.
It's just not looking like it, yeah.
And Jim Harbaugh, he's going to do his best to make Justin Herbert look good. And I feel like if they can spread out the offense, I feel like the Chargers win this game. And also, the Chiefs, they don't have a lot of their offensive linemen right now, and they struggled against, obviously, the Texans with the number 1 ranked defense.
Yeah.
But the Chargers defense, I know you said they're not as good as they once was, but if they can pressure Mahomes, I feel like they can win this game. And I'm going to roll with the Chargers this one. I'm going to say it's going to be 24-17 for the Chargers.
All right. Next game we have is the Packers versus the Broncos. So I want to first things first and say that the Broncos are the most fraudulent 11-win team I've ever seen in my life. They literally almost lost to the Raiders. Like, the Broncos, I don't think they're good like that anymore. Because how are you putting up that type of performance against the Raiders? And I don't know, like, their running game is good, but is their receiving game really that good? I don't know. Bo Nix, he's trying his best to get the ball to the receivers. And in my opinion, I think that the only way you can do it is figure out exactly how are you going to get the ball, and especially when you play good and solid teams like the Packers, where Micah Parsons will rush him. I think Bo Nix is going to have a huge trouble against the Packers. I'm going to roll with the Packers in this game. I think they're going to expose this Broncos team because they look pretty exposed, in my opinion, against the Raiders. And Josh Jacobs is going to run rampant on that team. And it's like Pat Surtain, he's solid, he locks his players down, but I realized one thing, quarterbacks are not afraid to throw it his way, though, because they like to challenge Pat Surtain. And I've realized that every time that any team plays against the Broncos, because Pat Surtain, he's one of the best corners in the league, no problem. But if you're a best corner in the league, why is a quarterback attacking you still? That's just weird to me, in my opinion. But I'm going to roll with the Packers. I think Micah Parsons has a big sack game, and I think Jordan Love has another solid game where the Packers win this, in my opinion, 28-17.
Yeah, I actually think this is going to be a low-scoring game because you have two good defenses, and they're going to be in mile high. So I feel like the aspect of the Packers being in that element is going to be a little bit tough for them. But I'm going to roll with the Packers in this one as well. I feel like they're the better team on both sides of the spectrum, especially with how the Broncos been playing in like a general sense. Like, they just haven't been consistent on the offensive end.
Right.
They can't really establish the running game. Obviously, they do just enough to win, and they have.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not winning games decisively.
No.
They never have all season.
They fought back in a lot of their wins.
Right.
It's good character for them. Obviously, you have that, I guess, to your resume where it's like, okay, we go down, but we know we can come back. That's good and all, but we're not having the control of the game throughout the game. It's not good.
Especially in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs as well. But I'm going to roll with the Packers in this one. I'm going to say they win this game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be 20-16 for the Packers.
All right.
A lot of field goals.
A lot of field goals, especially it's mile high.
Yeah.
Next up, we have is the Lions versus the Rams. Two high-powered offenses. The Rams continuing to look like the best team, probably the second best team or the best team in the NFL, based on just how good they are all sides of the ball. With Puka Nacua is just starting to look like Puka Nacua again at the beginning of the year. But if Puka Nacua never got injured, he probably would have been the best receiver in the NFL. No doubt, in my opinion. With Smith-Jigba right behind him, probably. But in this game, the Lions are coming off a big win. Jahmyr Gibbs is looking better and better. The run game has been looking better and better. Can the Rams stop this high-powered Lions team?
And can the Rams stop this high-powered Lions team?
Exactly. Let's see who's the better defense, because I do think there's going to be a lot of points scored on both sides of the ball. I just think it's going to come down to whoever gets the last stop, in my opinion. Matthew Stafford has been looking really good, as always. Potential MVP. I'm going to roll with the Rams. I think the Rams are just too hot right now on the offensive side, where I don't think that the Lions really have a lockdown corner. Terrion Arnold Jr. is good, but I don't think he can lock down Puka Nacua.
DJ Reed's not DJ Reed of old.
Exactly. So I do think the Rams pick up this win. I think they win it on. It's going to be a one-score game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a 35-28 type game.
35-20. I'm going to actually roll with the Lions on this one. I feel like they have the momentum coming into this game, especially with winning against the Cowboys, who was hot. But this is going to be one of those games where you just look at it and you're like, wow. The creativity of both of these offenses. Yeah. I feel like a lot of teams need to mimic that, because you watch these games, you never feel like, oh my god, this is so boring and stuff like that. You feel thrill watching this game. Like, you're gonna see big plays, you're gonna see explosive plays, you're gonna see explosive players.
Sure.
You're gonna have probably 2 touchdowns from Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe 2 touchdowns from Puka Nacua, 2 touchdowns from Kyron Williams, 2 touchdowns from Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. and the list goes on for this game. But in this game in particular, because of the Lions, they have that momentum coming in. I'm going to say they win this game 31-27. I feel like we're going to get a big game from every single wide receiver, in my opinion. But it's going to be that one play that we're going to see at this game where it's going to be like, oh shit, this is why the Rams couldn't win. Perhaps it's an costly interception from Matthew Stafford, maybe a fumble. I feel like maybe we'll see a good game from Aiden Hutchinson. But I'm going to roll with the Lions on this one.
All right. And then the last game we have on the docket is what we thought could have been a really good game if Daniel Jones was active. And we're talking about the Colts versus the Seahawks. Now, the Colts are going to be coming back in this game with Anthony Richardson. And now,
to be determined, because I know he's still injured.
So who would be there filling in?
I don't know. Riley Leonard's injured, so maybe fucking Phillip Rivers.
That's absolutely disgusting. If we see Phillip Rivers getting booted up, because I think he's on the practice squad right now. If he gets, he's going to be active probably by Sunday.
Probably.
And if Phillip Rivers gets on the field,
oh man, just rush him.
Just rush him at this point. Yeah. He's not going anywhere.
If I was Leonard Williams on the Seattle Seahawks, I think bum rush him. Send the the engage 8 play from Madden.
Yeah.
Just
send everybody. Just send everybody.
Yeah.
But one of the big things for the Colts that they've been riding high all season on is the play of Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor has not been looking like Jonathan Taylor towards the latter half of the season. When I had him, and it's funny because we talked about when we were at the half point of the season, I had Jonathan Taylor as MVP. And that is absolutely not the case anymore. He's probably not even in the Offensive Player of the Year category anymore.
He's still Smith-Jigba right now.
And it's crazy to me because he was so high, and now he just fell off a cliff because of, I don't know what happened. The offensive line stopped protecting him, or it's just the plays weren't really drawn up correctly for him, or what most likely is the real answer, defenses figured him out. And when you figure out a player like Jonathan Taylor, when he can't do much else, because he's not really a pass catcher in my opinion, he's kind of stagnant at that point. But the Seahawks, Smith-Jigba is probably the best receiver in the NFL right now, stats-wise, and Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. He's just doing what he's doing, what he can do best. Yeah. Sam Darnold...
He's like another Justin Herbert. Can he produce in the big moments?
Exactly.
We'll see that in the playoffs.
We'll see it for sure in the playoffs because...
You have to see it because last year they made the playoffs and he...
With the Vikings, and he was great throughout the entire season, and then he folded in the playoffs. And I hope that the Seahawks don't do that again this season, especially with the talent that they have on the wide receivers and running back core. But ultimately, in this game, the Seahawks are winning this. Yeah. And the Seahawks win this game 30-13.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks as well. I don't know if it's going to be that much of a blowout. Maybe like a 30-20 game is what I'm going to roll with. We might get a big game from Jonathan Taylor. And I feel like the Colts, they have the player personnel to keep them in the game for as long as possible. But the Seahawks, they just have a better team on paper. We've been actually seeing a rise in Cooper Kupp the last few weeks. Yeah. And I feel like they need to get Rashid Shaheed the ball.
He did score a touchdown off a return.
He did, but I feel like he has the big play capabilities, and Sam Darnold has always had an arm. So I would say just send the ball down the field, pray to God.
He might be there.
Yeah.
But that kind of wraps up our our NFL predictions for week 15, and now, like we talk about it always every week, we're getting into the thicks and the wicks and the weeds of NFL playoff season. It's exciting, and we're going to cover it all here, but that kind of wraps up our sports recap for this week. All right, guys, now it's time for our WWE recap for this week, and guys, it's a big week in wrestling because, one, we're here to honor and celebrate probably one of the greatest of all time, John Cena. This is his last week pretty much being involved in wrestling, well, in-ring wrestling, but everything's leading up to Saturday night's main event, which is shaping up to be one of my most hyped and anticipated cards of the year. But let's start off quickly with our SmackDown recap. I'm gonna run through it because there's not much really to talk about. SmackDown is still looking like a very missable show every week. But the show started off with Cody and Drew feuding again. And why are they continuing this feud? I don't know. In my opinion,
not building towards anything.
Apparently, the talks are they're gonna have one more match. And at that point, if you're having this one more match, Drew McIntyre needs to win that title at this point. If he does not, then you're just making Drew look like more and more of a bum. Like, he's just losing these matches to Cody Rhodes every week, and why is he challenging him at this point? So what's the story there? What's the feud there? And what's the game plan and the end game? Because if there is one more match, whether it's at the Royal Rumble or whenever they decide to do on a random SmackDown or Raw, there has to be an ending to it where it's leading to something else. But let's see how that goes. U.S. Open Challenge with Dragunov continues. He had Carmelo Hayes, and he beat Carmelo Hayes, and he's finally getting Ciampa next week because that's the story right there. Ciampa's been dying for it. Who knows? Maybe Ciampa might actually pick up the surprise W against Dragunov because they have been building a feud for a minute and let those guys in the mid-card pretty much build a feud. You could swap titles back and forth if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And I don't see a problem with that. Jade Cargill, she honestly just really needs a real opponent badly. Everyone's just waiting for Bianca Belair to come back. Or you have a rise from the NXT stars that are willing to come and ready to start in the main roster. Jade Cargill just honestly, she can't work with these people. These are no-names people. I'm sorry to say it. Like, there's nobody really important that she's facing. We all know that she's going to beat her. There's no really meaningful feud for her. And I hope that they change this going into 2026. Next up, we had Solo Sikoa with his MFTs. He delivered a good promo. It was good to see Solo back on the mic doing what he does really well on the promo. He's really good on the promos.
Yeah, it was nice to watch, especially since we thought he needed that character development.
For sure.
He definitely got it now.
Well, he's been having it ever since he left. Like, he's got away from the Bloodline stuff and he got his own crew. He's been much better ever since then in his promos. But the Wyatt Six interfered. I'm ready for this feud to be over already at this point. Like, these guys had a match already. I don't understand what's the point of continuing this because the MFTs look boring. The Wyatt Six don't look interesting as well. I think there has to be like one final blow-off match, probably between Solo versus Uncle Howdy. I don't know where they do it, when they do it, but they need to have that match and just call this feud a day.
Yeah.
Lastly, we had the finals of the Last Time Is Now tournament between Gunther and LA Knight. Now, this match where a lot of people wanted to see an upset with LA Knight and trying to pick up a W against Gunther, but ultimately the more logical winner won, and it's Gunther. And Gunther pretty much won this match decisively, in my opinion. He tapped out LA Knight. I didn't think he was going to tap him out, but he submitted LA Knight, which is kind of the story building to what Gunther is wanting to do going into this finals against John Cena.
Right.
The story is that Gunther wants to tap John Cena out, which is obviously John Cena is known to never give up. And WWE likes to claim that John Cena never tapped out, which is not true. Which he did back in like 2005, but that was before he became the John Cena.
Right.
He was still like, the Dr. Thuganomics and shit heel. So he tapped out back then to a few names actually. But that leads right into our Raw recap where the show started off with Gunther addressing John Cena and acknowledging that John Cena is the greatest sports entertainer of all time. But Gunther says he's the greatest wrestler of all time, and that's just because Gunther is just doing what he does as a heel, and he's just pretty much getting John Cena ready.
He's icing himself up for it.
Exactly. And this is reminding me of the classic, like, the Rocky IV story where it's Drago versus Rocky Balboa, where it's the foreign heel versus John Cena, who's the great white American.
Yeah.
And Gunther is pretty much saying that he's ready to tap out John Cena on his final way to send him home. I don't know. We'll talk about it in our predictions who we think is going to win that match. But Gunther is going straight in. He delivered a short promo, but pretty much straight to the point. And it's just, it sucks that John Cena's are not on this show to do delivery promos against Gunther. I think those would have been really, really good if you had John Cena and Gunther doing back and forth promos.
Yeah.
But we just don't have that ability. But Gunther, let's see how he does in the finals, and we'll talk about later on what our predictions, who we think is going to win that match. Next up, we had Io beat Kairi Sane in a regular throwaway match. It's just leading to Kairi and Asuka defending their titles eventually against Io and Rhea. And probably Io and Rhea are going to pick up those titles probably in Royal Rumble. I can see them winning it.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor, which was supposed to happen. But he got jumped by Logan Paul. And I was telling Farden this while we were watching the show. I'm like, it's good to see Logan Paul finally actually take this maybe seriously going into 2026 and showing up every week.
It kind of makes sense because the Royal Rumble's in Saudi Arabia and
they
want to see him more on TV.
And the thing is, he fits perfectly with the vision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because whatever the Vision's group is of having these young stars, Logan Paul is one of them.
Exactly.
And he's a great talker, and he's great charisma and attitude, and he's just a good heel.
It's just like an alternate reality version of Evolution from back in the
day. Yeah, and he's a good heel. Yeah. And we pretty much had Logan Paul jump him, but we had the first appearance of the night from the Mystery Man.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this Mystery Man looked different from who we thought was Austin Theory. And I noticed this, and there was a report that WWE is purposely changing the appearances of the Mystery Man. They're not using the same character, so they're keeping everyone guessing because there's a lot of new potential people that couldn't be in it. And we'll talk about it in the main event.
The body figure.
They're different. Yeah. And we'll talk about it in the main event because that's where he did make a second appearance. Next up, we had pretty much... Oh, sorry, but in that jumping, we had LA Knight who came out for the save. Random. I don't know why he came out, but he came out after Rey Mysterio got his ass beat, which made no sense to me either way. But Logan Paul and LA Knight was set for the main event. Next up, we had Styles and Dragon Lee versus the War Raiders. Good match, solid match, but ultimately led to Dragon Lee and Styles picking up the win. But interestingly, we had the Usos make a return, coming out of the crowd and saying that they're back in the tag team division. Now, I think this is extremely temporary.
I agree. I think this might be a ploy for
sure.
Jey Uso to...
I think they're going to try to team up together. It's not working. They're not going to be the Usos that they used to be because they've just been apart for so long. And I think that's the story, especially because they challenged the New Day, and the Usos and the New Day, they had wars forever. They've been fighting forever each other. And I think in that match, whenever that match happens, because it's obvious that's going to be a one-on-one match, a 2-on-2 match, where those two are going to face probably Dragon Lee and Styles, and it's going to be a number one contenders match.
Yeah.
And people may assume that the Usos are going to win that match. Maybe not. Maybe with conflictions, maybe with whatever happens, the New Day can pick up that win. Could lead to more of a story of Jey Uso. What is going to lead to him breaking point?
Right.
Because it was obvious in that promo that Big Jim kept saying that Jey Uso lost this, Uso lost that, Usos lost this. They're ready to break at any moment, and it's going to happen. We don't know when, but it's building to it.
Combustible force melting pot right now.
Right, and then we'll skip straight to the main event, which was Logan Paul defeated LA Knight with another assist from the Mystery Man, and the figure looked different again. And it's interesting. They're doing this on purpose, and now what people are saying that the three names that are obviously on the docket right now is Austin Theory, Ricky Saints, and Montez Ford, who is the other one. Okay. Because Montez Ford, we've always been talking about it forever. Everyone in the probably wrestling community, that when he's ready to break out and be solo, he would be amazing by himself. And with him involved in a group like the Vision, that might be pretty solid. You put Montez Ford with those guys, that might be a good fit. But it's most likely could obviously still be Austin Theory because he's just a good heel to fit with that group. Ricky Saints is coming off a babyface run in NXT. Maybe he might be a good heel on this too, but we don't know what's going on with that. But this ultimately led to the Vision staying strong and dominant to end the show, and what led to that was them laying a beat down on LA Knight.
Yeah, basically, this is WWE way of just saying...
Dude, they buried LA Knight, and it's like...
Is he getting, released, or is he taking time off?
Who knows? But at this point, the way and the beatdown that happened is obviously Braun Breaker speared the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed delivered 2 tsunamis in the ring, which led to LA Knight getting carried on the back. Footage continued of him still trying to get up, which led to Bronson Reed and Logan Paul continuing to beat down him on the backstage. And it all led to a tsunami where Bronson Reed hit LA Knight on top of a car. And usually when that happens, that means you're getting written off TV. Yeah. And LA Knight got stretchered out. I don't know what happens to LA Knight. Maybe he's probably gone until Rumble. I can definitely see that. What is the need for him on TV? Because there's no program for him right now. But I think going into 2026, he's going to have a good 2026 in my opinion, or it might be the same. But he's never getting to that next level. I don't see it. And it's obvious and clear that WWE doesn't see it either. Because the way that they buried him.
I feel the only thing I would say about him is his wrestling needs a little bit of work. Maybe that's why they're writing him off. But he has the skills to be a top guy. They're just not giving him the opportunity. Obviously, he only had that only one opportunity when it came to the WWE Championship against Roman.
Yeah.
But
no, we all
right now, it's just, it is what it is. And it makes sense for him to write it off, especially for right now. Because he's been in the same shit every week, and it's getting kind of boring. So, good way for him to get rid of it.
And the thing is, it's a good way because I think in the Royal Rumble, he could set up his possible WrestleMania opponent. And this is what a lot of people have been talking about. If he has one. But a lot of people are talking about what they think might be his WrestleMania opponent is possibly the return of Chris Jericho. That would be a great matchup between these two going into WrestleMania and seeing, because a lot of people I know for sure when Jericho comes back, LA Knight is definitely someone that I can definitely see him working with. But let's see how that goes with LA Knight now off of TV, and now it's looking like every week we're going to see the Vision standing strong because obviously they're building to that CM Punk match at the first Raw of the year. But the Vision, I think they're obviously the most dominant faction right now in WWE currently. I think they're more dominant than obviously the MFTs. And I think also then the Bloodline, even though whatever kind of Bloodline is really left, there's not really any Bloodline left. And the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Vision. Yeah. So I think they're the best faction right now. And we'll see, because I think this mystery man is going to lead right into the reveal probably in the beginning of the Raw, where he helps Braun Breaker win that title. And you do the reveal on that show.
So you think they're going to write this off for another month?
Well, it's not even a month. Like, you got a few Raws left. You only have 2-3 Raws left. You can stretch it out. You can definitely stretch it out with 2-3 Raws left.
Potentially, I guess.
For sure.
In our backyard here at Barclay.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You can stretch it out for 2 more Raws for sure. And I think Braun Breaker, let's see if he wins that title on that Raw. It's all leading to that. But we're going to jump right into what's happening on this Saturday, which is the celebration of John Cena. It is his last in-ring performance where John Cena is going to be celebrated all night. But this card is built of matches where John Cena wanted to make his input and wanted to get young stars versus the current stars that we have right now. And in my opinion, this is a loaded card where every single match could possibly steal the show. And we'll start off first with Bayley versus Sol Ruca. So Bayley, who's obviously probably the most solid wrestler in the women's division right now, where if you're talking about in-ring work, mic work, whatever, if you want someone that's a go-to in the women's division, it's either Natalya or Bayley at this point. Yeah. And Bayley got that role against Sol Ruca, who's very, very good. She's very good in NXT. Let's see how she is in this big stage like this, because Sol Ruca, she has a crazy finisher. I think they might pull it out, where it's like a flipping, where she runs to the ropes and then she flips and hits a stunner. It's actually insane when you watch it. And I think she might do it in this match. And predictions-wise, it's Bayley versus Sol Ruca. I'm going to go with Sol Ruca to win this matchup because she's the younger star, and I think that they need to obviously have younger stars on this show, at least win some of these matches. If not, probably not all of them, but I do think that Sol Ruca is going to win this match, in my opinion. And I don't know if you want to say anything else on this match.
I mean, I'm not really familiar. I haven't caught up with NXT in a while, so I'm gonna agree with you potentially. Yeah. Like, obviously, we're gonna see with our own eyes, and it kind of just makes sense for her to win, especially with how Bayley's been, I guess, going about her business in WWE for the last couple of months. Kind of just makes sense for the young buck to win. Next
up, we probably have the match that might steal the show with the people involved. We have AJ Styles versus Dragon Lee in a non-title match versus the 2 young stars of Javon Evans and Leon Slater. And my God, I got to watch Leon Slater live when I went to a local show in House of Glory. Leon Slater's insane. He's absolutely insane. We all know what Javon Evans can do. Javon Evans is probably the next up, in my opinion, in 2026. He's going to have a crazy year. And here's a crazy stat for you. Javon Evans' age plus Leon Slater's age combined together is still 6 years younger than AJ Styles. That is insane to me.
How old is Leon Slater?
These guys are 22, 21 years old. These guys are young bucks where you have people like Swerve Strickland. You have people like other people in the industry like Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega. All these guys are saying that these 2 young guys are the prodigies. They're the next guys that are probably going to do this for the next 20 plus years of looking how good they are. And you have Dragon Lee and AJ Styles, who are a good tag team, good wrestling, good wrestlers, obviously. in my opinion, I do think that Styles and Lee pick up this win because they're going to just show the veteranness, and they're the champs. And if you beat the champs, you know what the storyline usually WWE is. If you beat the champs, you deserve a title match. And I do think that they're going to have a crazy showing. And this is going to be a match where there's a lot of high flying because, honestly, all four of them can all fly. But I do think that AJ Styles and Dragon Lee pick up this W.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I feel like, especially with what they're building with the Usos and the New Day, kind of just doesn't make sense to put Leon and Jevion in the...
Yeah.
It's Javon, right?
Javon Evans, yeah.
In the title picture as of right now, for now.
Right.
So it kind of just makes sense for AJ Styles and Dragon Lee to win. I'm excited to see what moves are going to happen.
It's going to be insane.
I can't imagine.
It's going to be insane. They're going to pull out crazy stuff, especially with these two guys getting the spotlight on John Cena's last show, like ever. Yeah. The amount of eyes that people are going to be watching this show, you know these wrestlers are going to step up their game on another level. Next up we have is a very interesting matchup between the WWE champion Cody Rhodes versus the new NXT champion Obafemi. Yeah. And people thought that Obafemi was going to lose that match against Ricky Saints because Obafemi was going to get called up. Now it doesn't look like the case because Obafemi is going to be staying in NXT. This is going to be a good, hard-hitting match. I do not think we're getting a winner in this match. I think Drew McIntyre makes an appearance because you cannot beat either or. You can't beat Obafemi and you can't beat Cody Rhodes. There's no way that we're getting a winner in this match. That's just basic WWE terms at this point because you're not beating the new champion in Obafemi because you want to keep him dominant, especially into the future. And Cody Rhodes, yes, obviously it would look very good on Obafemi if he comes in and beats Cody Rhodes. That's kind of crazy. And do you really want people to think that your NXT champion is beating your world champion, the number one guy in WWE? You can't really do it. And I think it's going to be a good showing, but ultimately I think Drew McIntyre makes an appearance, which has got to lead to something with these two because these two is going to be feuding all the time. And it's going to lead to pretty much Cody Rhodes. He did jump Drew McIntyre at the beginning of SmackDown. Yeah. So Drew McIntyre has to get his comeuppance.
It makes sense for that to happen, but I don't know, man. I don't want to just be like, yeah, this is going to be Drew McIntyre's moment to come in and just beat up Cody Rhodes. Right. You know what I mean? But if I had to pick a winner between the two, I would go with Cody Rhodes in a highly contested fight. I feel like I've seen Obafemi fight in NXT. He's a fucking mongrel. Yeah. But I'm going to roll with Cody Rhodes. I feel like he just gets her rolling for the team. And we just see that next up. We might see that in-ring handshake between the two.
If there's a clean match.
After that, maybe we'll see a Drew McIntyre appearance after the fact that he just beats up Cody Rhodes.
For sure. All right. And then the last match we have is the main event, which is John Cena versus Gunther. Now, this is going to be a match where I don't know who's going to win because I know typically wrestlers like John Cena, especially in the old guard, they want to lose on their way out. I do think that John Cena himself would probably want to lose on his way out. But what the story that they're building is that Gunther wants to tap him out. And for the character of John Cena, do you really want the last image of John Cena tapping out to Gunther? I don't think so. I'm going to roll with John Cena picking up the W against Gunther because, one, I don't think it hurts Gunther losing because Gunther, in my opinion, is probably made already because Gunther has been taking losses before where he's been fine. He lost to Cody Rhodes before. He tapped out to Jey Uso. And it's like, and Gunther pretty much, like, he's established to this point where no matter what if he loses this, going into 2026, people still want to see that he is going to have a big card and a big match on the WrestleMania card going forward. Yeah. I think that the John Cena character is going to win this match, being the super Cena that we like to see him power up and get the W and beat Gunther and not tapping out. I hope that he doesn't submit Gunther. I hope it's not the other way around. I hope he just pins Gunther. I hope Gunther's not tapping out to John Cena. But I'm going to roll with John Cena because you can't beat him in this storyline, especially on this last show. Like, do you really want to see John Cena on his back to end the show? I don't.
Just fall asleep, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with John Cena as well. I can't see my GOAT losing like that. Like, it just... It would hurt. I'll start crying if I see John Cena just fall asleep.
It's going to be an emotional night for everyone.
I agree. And
we're going to see a lot of cameos.
You can't see... It's gonna like you're gonna see that that UFC style crowd cam.
For sure. They've been doing that anyway.
Donald Trump's gonna be there, but it just makes perfect sense for John Cena to win this. You've got to let him win. You know.
Yeah. And I know he's gonna probably push to lose. Yeah. But
you can't.
This storyline wise, John Cena lost already 2 times to he lost to Dom Mysterio and then he lost to Brock Lesnar. Like, those are 2 big losses where he had. And I think you just want to see him go out as a winner.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. Right? I'm going to roll with John Cena.
I'm going to roll with John Cena too. And it's going to be a great night. It's going to be a celebration of John Cena. We're going to see a lot of people maybe doing a little like, because it's only a 4-match card and it's on Peacock, so there is no time limit. Because when it's usually on NBC, they have a cutoff at 10 o'clock. But now there's no time limit. So we might see little monologues from Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle has to be there. You can have Randy Orton. You can have CM Punk. All these people that can definitely make an appearance. And in celebration of John Cena.
For sure.
But in my opinion, quickly, do you think that when John Cena's saying it's the end, it's the end? I think so.
It has to be the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense to go on all this hurrah, especially going heel, going back from heel, back to face. It just doesn't make sense. Maybe this was just like that tactic where it's like, I'm not done. But
yeah, I believe him.
I think
I believe him too. When he says it's over, I believe
it's going to be over. Yeah.
So, but that kind of wraps up our Saturday Night Main Event predictions and our WWE recap as well. Next week we'll cover it. We'll talk about it. It's going to be an emotional night of John Cena. We'll talk about exactly how the show went down and how great it was, and it'll be building to exactly the road to Royal Rumble because shows are getting crazier. The stories are starting to mesh well together. Let's see what happens. But that kind of sums up our WWE recap for this week. All right, guys. Now it's time to get into the segment of the show where we talk about our best things this week. And I'll let Farden start off what he thought was the best thing that he saw this week.
Yeah, so this week we just wrapped up our conference championships in college football. Shout out to Indiana University. They won the Big Ten championship. And the best thing that I saw this week was their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. And he had one of the most interesting rant-like... I wouldn't even call it a rant, but it was fun to watch. His post-game interview.
It was entertainment.
It was entertaining, and the way he was explosive and fiery. He's like, I want to thank all Lord to praise to God, this and that. All my teammates who struggled out there,
and it didn't help with his high-pitched voice.
No. That shit was kind of like, okay, wait a second. But Fernando Mendoza, he's probably going to win the Heisman Trophy this year.
Probably.
And he just took down arguably the best team all season in the Ohio State Buckeyes.
They missed a field goal.
And they did miss a field goal, but at the end of the day, that's not his problem at the end of the day. He did
Ryan
just
Day
enough,
literally looks so sad.
and he led Indiana to an undefeated season. Right now, they're the 1 seed. They're waiting to see what happens in the college football playoffs. But I just want to say one thing. Fernando Mendoza, I would like to personally welcome you to the New York Jets, hopefully, because I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets record-wise, but as of right now, I believe the Giants hold the 1 pick, and they're not going to draft a quarterback.
No.
So if you come to the Jets, man, you have some playmakers, you have a decent offensive line. Hopefully they do re-sign Breece Hall, but I would love to see you in the green and white. And that was pretty much the best thing I saw, his speech at the end of the game against the Ohio State Buckeyes.
All right. And then for me, I'm going to continue on the ride that we're all been talking about in the wrestling world, which is John Cena's last celebration. And the best thing I've seen this week is pretty much John Cena doing the media rounds where he's getting all the love and flowers that he deserves. Yeah. And it's crazy because growing up, we had a lot of, John Cena sucked chants where he wasn't really being appreciated because he was getting pushed to our faces. And which led to a lot of people, like true hardcore wrestling fans, they hated seeing that, man, because it's like, we know it's going to be the same old moves. It's going to be the same story. He's going to win this match. He's going to never lose. But what happens is absence makes the heart grow fonder, is what they like to say. And John Cena went away for a while, which made true hardcore wrestling fans miss him. And when he came back, especially when he changed his tone in 2011, where he started doing the U.S. Open Challenge, a lot of people looked at him differently because he started pulling out new moves. He started having great matches, actually. But what happened is John Cena pretty much became someone where in this figure in the wrestling world, but now it's like, who doesn't love him at this point because of the history, the dedication, and everything that he put into the wrestling world. He did the media rounds like I talked about. He was on Jimmy Kimmel. He was on the Bill Simmons podcast, Joe Rogan. He was on Chris Van Vliet. And then the last thing that pretty much was aired yesterday was the ESPN interview with Tom Rinaldi, where he announced that he's going to be he signed a 5-year deal to be a WWE ambassador, which kind of continues to prove how much loyal and how much WWE means to him, because he's going to keep doing these shows. He's going to keep representing the WWE for another 5+ years. He might sign another extension after that because he's just always going to be around WWE because that's his home. And we're going into pretty much Saturday night's main event, where I do think we're going to have the announcement of him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just the way I can definitely see it playing out. And he deserves it because he is probably one of the greatest of all time. And with that, I want to close the show with both of us giving our top 5 John Cena matches that we think, and this is not what we're gonna say is the greatest, like by far, but this is our opinion of what we think is the top 5 matches that we've seen.
Right.
And I guess we'll both do our 5. We'll go back and forth, and we'll talk about our number 1. So my number 5 is John Cena versus Shawn Michaels in 2007 on Raw. That was a 1-hour match. It was basically an Iron Man match, but it was a 1 pinfall match. The thing I loved about that match is they didn't say it was gonna go 1 hour. It just happened.
Yeah.
And the entire England crowd was going insane. And I think ultimately Shawn Michaels won that match with a super kick, but it was a great little like leading into their WrestleMania 23 matchup because like these guys they're able. I think this is after WrestleMania 23. Yeah. And it's just they already had a great match at 23, and this was even better than that.
Yeah.
So that's my number 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that as number 5 as well. I feel like when John Cena was younger, like in the early 2000s, not in the early 2000s, mid to late 2000s, people saw him as not really a good wrestler, in my opinion. I feel like they just saw him as that baby face that Vince created, and he didn't really have like those fiery matches that he has been having throughout the years in the 2010s, obviously up until now. And this was one of those matches where you just saw like, yo, he has some skills, and he definitely showed it for like an hour plus. Like it just made sense for John Cena to be well, especially with who he was fighting against, Shawn Michaels, probably
the greatest in-ring performer.
Yeah, for sure. And this just kind of solidified how John Cena can be that promising talent moving forward, especially around that time.
Yeah. Let's go to number 4. So for me, number 4 is going to be a little bit off of recency, where we have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam 2025. This match surpassed all my expectations because, one, we were coming off of that horrible match at WrestleMania, and it's just, and then we were just going on this run where John Cena was trying to be a heel, and it just wasn't working, and these matches were pretty much of a dud. And it eventually led to Cody Rhodes pretty much being the face going into it, but it also led to John Cena quickly turning face again on the SmackDown before, and it just felt so much better. John Cena was back. We had the lights. We had the show. John Cena was running out doing his usual shtick, and it led to a great match where we pretty much had everything involved in it. It was a lot of weapons involved. It was a lot of finishers involved, and it ultimately led to Cody Rhodes pretty much beating John Cena in what we thought was going to happen at WrestleMania. And it was obviously like this was the passing of the torch where Cody Rhodes pretty much took the mantle from John Cena at this point, and now this is going to be WWE's new golden boy going forward. And that's what I just loved about that match, because it was a great story, and it was a great performance that we didn't think that John Cena still had it left in him, and it was great to see him do it again.
Yeah, so my number 4 is going to be John Cena versus The Rock. Which one? I'm going to just say both of them, to be honest with you. I'm going to give you a 2 for in this case. I feel like the hype surrounding this was probably the most hyped up match
at that time.
At the time, like you obviously had Hulk and The Rock, Rock and Austin, but nothing compared to Rock and Cena. And why I'm putting this at number 4 is because these two, they weren't known for their wrestling capabilities. Obviously, Rock, he has his selling abilities, but John Cena in this case, he kind of broke The Rock. We saw him doing the promo battles against The Rock.
Oh,
yeah, you just know The Rock just calls out people. Like, he makes fun of them.
Kind of exposed them.
And John Cena basically exposed them. Like, yo, listen, I'm here when you're not here.
Right.
And I'm the one that runs you down when you are here. That was, like, his most famous line.
And the great thing is, like, it's kind of John Cena ended up being what The Rock is now.
Yeah. He always called out The Rock for leaving for Hollywood when he just basically did the same thing. Yeah. But the only difference is John Cena, he actually cared more about coming back and being the wrestler that people wanted to be, and the fans love him more than what The Rock did. And their matches at WrestleMania,
they were good
in 27 and 28 and 29. The first one, The Rock won, obviously, but that was the better match of the two. Yeah. But the third one, the second one in MetLife Stadium, Cena won to win the title. It just made sense for Cena's legacy to get that win back, especially after losing the year before. It just made sense for John Cena to establish himself as the guy that we know that he can be, and he was for the last 20 years pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, that would be my number 4 match.
Number 3 for me is going to be John Cena versus CM Punk on Raw in 2013. This was another Raw match that John Cena had, and this is why I think that John Cena is one of the best Raw performers of all time, because he puts on great matches on Monday Night Raw if you look back in the past.
Yeah.
In this match, we had CM Punk and John Cena go in there, try to fight for a number 1 contender spot. This was the match where infamously CM Punk pulled out the pile driver People did not expect that move because it was always supposed to be banned. But these two pulled it out. They didn't consult anybody with it because they just did it. And they thought that in the vibe, the chemistry, it just worked, especially with their history that they already have.
Right.
Back to 2011, which is going to be making another appearance on this list. But these two, great chemistry and just another great match for them to add. That's why it's my number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is going to be Cena versus Edge in Unforgiven in 2006. This was a chaotic match. Like, a lot of shit was going on. I believe Lita got involved. And she got put through a table. And I believe this was in Toronto.
This was in Toronto, in Edge's hometown.
And technically speaking, John Cena was the heel in this because of the hometown of Edge, which is Toronto. And this was just, like, obviously we could think about so many different matches from these two. But this one in particular, I feel like the vendetta between the two and this being a TLC match, it just made perfect sense. And John Cena, basically, his most signature moment was AAing, or at the time STFing, FUing Edge off the ladder onto two tables, and ultimately winning the World Heavyweight Championship. And obviously we missed Edge in this retirement tour. He's doing his thing in AEW. But at the end of the day, those two had some great matches, and this one in particular, the vendetta between the two, the hatred between the two, this was just a perfect way to bury the whole the saga between the two, and it kind of made sense, you know? It was fun to watch.
It was great. Number 2 on my list is going to be John Cena versus CM Punk in Money in the Bank 2011, and this is my number 2 because, one, obviously there was a lot of history behind this match, especially with Vince McMahon being involved and with CM Punk leaving with the title. It was a great storyline to build because you have CM Punk, who is pretty much the rebel, trying to grab this title and get out of here, where John Cena is trying to fight for the company, but also has this resilience because he's trying to understand Punk as well and doesn't want Vince McMahon to get involved, and we saw it. And it was great to see because, overall, it was a great match, but the story is what made it better.
Yeah. I'm going to actually agree with you. This is my number 2 match for John Cena. I feel like we didn't really see the potential of CM Punk until he did this whole, like, obviously he had the pipe bomb before all of this, and he just basically called out WWE saying that he's the best in the world. And this was also in an attempt to question John Cena's wrestling capabilities.
Yeah.
And he definitely needed to perform well against CM Punk, and he actually did. I believe this was in Chicago. So this was another moment where John Cena was the heel, technically speaking. So it obviously those two, I think that's John Cena's greatest rival potentially. Obviously you have Randy Orton, you have Edge, but the jawing between the two, the verbal,
for sure,
it's great. Unmatched.
Yeah.
It's unmatched.
And then number 1 on my, I guess both of our lists is going to be John Cena versus AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble 2017.
This was just a crazy match. I remember we used to be on Xbox watching the match, and we were just both in like, oh my god.
This match was probably the greatest John Cena match, no doubt I've ever seen him perform in ring wise, where he was pulling out moves left and right. These two were putting on a clinic. You have AJ Styles, who I think was probably one of the best wrestlers in the world at that time. No matter the age, no matter what company, AJ Styles was dying to get into WWE. Once he finally got into it, people finally saw what he's capable of, because everybody always heard about it outside of WWE. Because he was doing this thing in TNA and New Japan. When he finally came in, he was putting on bangers, and then they matched him up with John Cena.
And this was just the epitome of John Cena being that Super Cena caliber.
Oh, it was great.
And it was you could see it all throughout the match.
And at that time, WWE was still protecting finishers. Yeah. So it was crazy to see both of these guys kicking out of finishers like nothing. And at that point, it made it more special. And this was John Cena. He won this match. And he won this 16-time champion, tying Ric Flair. Yeah. And overall, I did think that, I know a lot of people at that time probably thought Styles was going to win this match and have the victory over Cena and pretty much being the clear definitive.
Well, this would be a second victory. Obviously, they fought
at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But no, John Cena came out, put on a performance of a lifetime, and this was the best in-ring match that I ever seen John Cena put on. And this is a great way to wrap up the list and the legacy of John Cena. I think all the matches that we listed have a lot of things.
You can go no wrong when you discuss the great matches that he had, whether that was Randy Orton.
For sure.
Even Batista back then with the Quit matches.
And there's a lot to add to it, but we're going based off the best matches that we've seen, whether it's in-ring, whether it's story, whatever the case may be. But that's our list. And that kind of wraps up pretty much the best things that we both saw this week, with Farden's take about Mendoza doing the speech, and us celebrating John Cena as well. But that wraps up the episode for this week, and we'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned. Peace.